a pink ward. You can see some support from the rest of the Wolves moving towards this area of the map, and the lane swap initiation has started from the Copenhagen Wolves. Whether they wanted or whether they anticipated a lane swap themselves is the other question. Death sentence onto Diamond, this could be scary.
Oh, Diamond going to come around the side from this one already. The damage starts, but can they lock him down? Youngbuck will actually chase him away from the jungle completely, and the Copenhagen Wolves are going to be getting themselves a red buff from the enemy jungle here for the start. We'll see how Gambit can react to this one. EUCS will smite that one away, and the Wolves will get back off into the lanes. Right now, it's actually left Ro8 alone in the top lane to have free reign on the farm on that top side of things. Of course, Darian will be joining his jungler for a route around the jungle, and the Copenhagen Wolves appearing in mid lane with 4 men. There's a flay onto Nick. It's not going to be close enough or further enough away from the turret to have an impact though.
So, Unlimited not able to get in range in Diamond for that red buff invade. Unfortunately, skilling up Flame means there was no kill potential. But Copenhagen Wolves, with the support Thresh, there's roaming. This is the 3rd game in a row that we've seen this Thresh in the very early stages of the game, moving around the map with the rest of his team. It's given Copenhagen Wolves a buff advantage for the time being. The one thing we need to keep our eyes on is how long that pink ward lasts in Gambit's red buff. It was put down by EUCS after they'd forced Gambit away to ensure that Gambit didn't have vision for a potential steal. And the longer that lasts, the better the investment is, because that's quite an expensive item or decision just to get one buff. But EUCS, for the time being, is in a pretty good position. He's got that early lead we talked about, and there is still that vision in the jungle.
Yeah, 3 buff start here for the Copenhagen Wolves. That pink ward survived because Gambit didn't go far enough north from that, and the TP actually coming in here from Youngbuck down into this bottom lane. He's going to give him certainly the experience. We'll see how much farm he actually gets out of this one, but that should leave him in an advantage, or possibly not. If he doesn't see this one coming early enough, he's in danger. There are 4 men from Gambit coming around now. Yeah,
Edward's looking for Youngbuck. So Youngbuck's been pushed away from the gold and the experience of that massive minion wave. EUCS has come to support, but this is a 4 versus 2, and they're just denying the experience. So all of that advantage that the Wolves gained as a team for EUCS has effectively been denied, but even greater scale from Youngbuck. That is a lot of minions and experience that was lost at this early stage in the game.
See Diamond actually been able to smite away the big golem as Coutard here collects another bouncing bomb to the face. Didn't use his flash there. Obviously knew how much damage that was actually going to do to him and was able to walk away from the pressure. Meanwhile, Youngbuck trying to force Gambit away from this bottom tower, which has already been knocked down to just minute health.
It won't take a long time for Gambit to shove that down and actually open up the map. We see that Unlimited has responded to try and support Youngbuck. Similar situation to a lot of the games we're seeing these days, where the AD carries are left to deal with their opponent's top laners. The only difference in this particular matchup is that a Kayle top lane will be much more difficult to farm safely against, because Kayle's going to have that ranged ability and may actually be able to trade with an AD carry a little more effectively in this earlier stages of the game with just her base abilities and base damages.
If he'd been there. Right now, Darian is actually having a go at Coutard in this mid lane, and he knocked pretty much instantly down to just 1/3 of his HP. Meanwhile, Ro8 has let that wave push up completely onto him here and making sure that doesn't push back. So really wouldn't be much for Darian even if he went to this top lane.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to get... he would need to farm unsafely is the phrase that I'm looking for. But an interesting start. Gambit responding to that roam in the rotation from the Copenhagen Wolves by applying pressure on the bottom lane. It did not yield results by the tower, and EUCS has now looked to invade. Unfortunately, walked straight over a ward, but maybe if he pulled the trigger, could have got something from that. No tower dropped, and Genji and Edward are now in a sort of AD carry support versus top lane in support. Let's see how much poke Genji can get down, because he should have the advantage in this matchup.
And Diamond this entire time sticking around in the mid lane with Nick. Nick pretty much soaking up all of the farm from that one. And we can see there the levels. Level 5 for Nick, level 3 for Darian, level 5 for Coutard. And he's not quite at the halfway point to hitting a level 6 just now. And you see there the pings and the wards that he's putting down. Feeling rather unsafe, having no vision of Diamond right now.
Yeah, I think for Darian in this matchup, he's opted to go for the holding Nick's hand to ensure he doesn't get ganked in that top lane. We've seen Darren fall behind in the laning phase often, and this is a 3v2 in the bottom. It's a very interesting start. Edward has been a little caught out. This is a bit weird.
Yeah, I think made more of a mistake there as Coulthard again going to get blasted by the bouncing bomb of Nick. One more will actually do it here. He needs to be very, very careful of how close he actually stays. As Genja does try and force Youngbuck to back away. Youngbuck actually himself taking more damage than he can dish out. So,
Gambit have given up levels, farm, and experience on Darien in exchange for Ro8. Ro8 has been farming solo, unchallenged and unopposed in this top lane for the entirety of this game. What Gambit has accomplished in exchange for that is a lot of damage on that bottom outer turret and the middle outer turret, but it hasn't actually resulted in any map control. Airwax decided to respond to the bottom lane pressure by pushing the wave to Gambit's tower. And this is a very awkward start to the game because Darien is just going to be delayed. He's behind on levels to Youngbuck by a little bit. He's down by about a third of the CS. And when he does eventually go to lane, Ro8 is already level 6. If he does go and try face head-to-head against Ro8, potentially, he runs the risk of getting in trouble. Alternatively, I mean, Darren and Nick, they've just been holding hands in this mid lane and they don't seem to show any signs of moving elsewhere.
Very interesting start here for Gambit Gaming. Youngbuck clearing out his wards. Where's he going to be going next? Diamond and the rest of Gambit actually making sure that this blue buff doesn't get stolen away. That will, of course, be given over to Nick for his mid lane adventures. And he has hit level 6 now as well. So Coulthard, he can't afford to be catching too many bombs, although he's also now at level 6 himself. So he'll be able to throw on that wild growth should he need to. This is interesting. Gambit going to be starting off the Dragon. They are, however, stood right on top of a Copenhagen Wolves ward. Yeah, the thing is they've got so many members. Darien's just teleported into the mid lane. He's going to be looking to challenge. And there's a Mega Inferno bomb from Nick. So let's see how the engage plays out. They're actually trying to keep them away here as Edward going to go in with the Zen. He played on towards Airwax. There's the culling coming out. Doesn't really connect onto anyone. Went almost directly down the middle of the two. Either way, the Dragon did get taken. First Dragon of the game for Gambit. So they've invested heavily in controlling the bottom half of the map. And I would say from a map perspective, they have it. They have more damage in the Copenhagen Wolves towers. That bottom outer turret is just a breath away from being taken out. Darien is level 5 to Youngbuck's level 5, but he's down half of the CS. I have to give props to Genja, considering all that's been happening in that lane and the number of champions involved. He's actually almost even on CS with Ro8, who has been completely alone in that top lane. Ro8 is basically playing a PvE matchup right now because nobody is getting in his face. The only thing is, Inferno Bomb from Nick. Does he need it? I think Nick's been very hesitant with that Inferno Bomb. But Gambit, again, they're focusing the towers. They're putting a lot of resources in getting this map play, and it looks to almost work. One more hit? Not this time. No, not this time. Let's throw some damage more on towards Unlimited, trying to help defend. Ro8 continues his lonely life in the top lane, but that lonely life brings him to close to 100 CS here and probably will be hitting 100 before he has any kind of challenge in that lane. Plus, he's already up at level 8. Yeah, if you look at the CS and the gold values, there is so much money for both Genja and Ro8 to spend. 2,600 gold for Ro8. So what that means, he's going to be so close to just instantly purchasing his Blade of the Rune King on his first back, and then he can leave the lane and start looking to ambush, start looking to find kills. If Gambit continue to play this very fast and loose game of roaming and rotating on the bottom 2 lanes of the map, it allows Ro8 to potentially get kills. The thing is, he's not that far ahead. He's got a very small advantage over Genja. It's only the 7 CS. And Genja's got 2 turrets and a dragon to his name. So overall, Darien is somewhat down in experience, but he is up in gold thanks to those global objectives. And Gambit now deciding bottom half is boring. They've sent 4 members to the top lane. They want the sneaky rat. And as if it was all free for him now, he's got 4 men coming in. There's the invisibility, but he's spotted by Lee Sin. But look at this, the reaction from the Copenhagen Wolves, sending them away. Youngbuck has dove right in. Wild Growth will knock up 3. Can they get any kills here? The kick from Diamond will send Youngbuck away, and the bomb almost taking out Youngbuck while he goes. It was a good defense of Ro8, but will they be able to hold the tower? I don't think they've got enough HP, and they can't run the risk because of the power of Ziggs. If Ziggs gets some good bombs, they're going to be in trouble.
Luckily for the Copenhagen Wolves, Countard was relatively healthy and still has his summoners. So the Glitter Lancers is what we're going to be looking at to try and control these minion waves. Or Gambit are just not going to push that one at all. Going to decide to back away. So the first big engage, Gambit start the fight, peel away, and no casualties. But Copenhagen Wolves are down on items. It's still 3,200 gold for Ro8. We're finally going to see him spending it.
3,200 gold on his first back at level 12. At 12 minutes into the game, he's not quite level 12, although he's not even that far away. Level 9, and as you said, instant Blade of the Ruin King coming out from him. Question now is, what does he do with it? Does he have an opportunity to use that very early big major item?
In theory, yes. The way Gambit have been moving and the way Gambit have been focusing on the bottom half of the map, you could theorize that they will do the same focus the next time Dragon's up, and it should be a couple of minutes away. There is timing on Dragon. It's around the 14.5-minute mark. So the Copenhagen Wolves should be looking to either push waves in their favor in the top and middle, and then group of vision around Dragon. You can see Edward already just clearing out the wards, trying to get control. Because Darian's got teleport available, I think we can theorize at this point he's going to TP for that Dragon. And he's gone for an interesting build. Rushed the Berserker's Greaves, and he's picked up a Chalice of Harmony very early on. So maybe looking to stick around in lane and cause troubles.
Youngbuck actually caught out of position completely here. Going to take a lot of damage. They lock him up as he actually goes. There's the flash as well. Away from Edward, Solar Flare, and a little bit too far up lane there, I think, Youngbuck.
It was a little too extended, and that all stems from that very, very awkward and interesting early game play from Gambit. They forced the tower down. It made Youngbuck have to overextend, so Edward caught him from behind. The fact that Youngbuck's not going to have his flash available for the potential Dragon fight in the next few minutes is a very good sign for Gambit. It just reduces the threat of a hard engage from Youngbuck because he won't have that escape available. And Gambit just continue this roam. 4 members of the team in the red buff area of the Wolves. They're getting some deep vision. This should give them near absolute Dragon control once it spawns in a minute.
Going to lose out on that top outer turret, but gain themselves a red buff in less than a minute's time, as you said, until Dragon comes in. That'll make Genja also feel a lot more safe down in this bottom lane to push up, knowing that his team control that area of the map as the bomb was used here. 5-6 just to clear out the wave. Ro8 and Unlimited will push very heavily towards that inner turret. Let's not forget that Youngbuck, no ultimate available to him at this point, and used that flash during the last encounter, so he's a bit of a vulnerable person down on the bottom lane.
Gambit have set their sights on the inner turret. They forced Youngbuck away. He's not going to be able to defend. There's not enough minions, unfortunately, for Gambit to do any real damage. But look at Nick. He's shoving up the mid lane. The rest of Gambit pushing the bottom lane. And Diamond is just waiting. He's trying to respond. They've lost 2 turrets for this previous push, though. Gambit have not gained any big objectives, while Ro8 and Unlimited, they know where their opponents are. Almost every member of Gambit was visible to the Copenhagen Wolves, so they've secured both of those top lane turrets. So a smart counterplay from the Copenhagen Wolves not to back off and not to run away.
And there is the Dragon, started off by Diamond. Complete control they have of that one, and the Culling actually going to be thrown out from Genja just to try and get them low enough.
Look at the
will stop anything happening here. The Dragon goes down. Ro8 and Unlimited continue to push there.
Like, there's nothing that Darian can do here. If he gets caught by a death sentence, he's already used his intervention once. There's no damage and there's no kill threat. That's a level 10 Ro8 to a level 7 Darian. Unlimited's got the same amount of levels as a solo top lane Kayle. We talked about the theory of Kayle doing well against Shyvana. Darian's never had a chance because he's been pushing the mid lane tower, and Ro8 and Unlimited have got so much map presence in the top half of Gambit's jungle.
And they finally sent Genja and Edward back into base there, and they didn't get that inner turret in the bottom lane. Ro8 and Unlimited simply backed away with a level 10 AD carry with a Blade of the Ruin King. He's got 1,600 gold to spend here as well. Means that someone may just get caught out, and that someone may just be Edward. He's actually going to come around. Ro8 is going to spot him there, but not looking for the fight.
Yeah, it's really interesting because if you looked at those gold numbers a moment or two ago, Darian is only a couple hundred gold behind Youngbuck, but the rest of the lanes are mostly ahead. You know, 600 ahead for Diamond, 1,200 ahead for Nick. 80 carries are even, support 300, it's not massive. So Gambit as a team are somewhat ahead. Now Counter's been jumped on.
Counter being jumped on, the Q from Diamond will land, but the teleport did get started by Youngbuck. He actually cancelled that one there, so not joining in with that little party that was going on in the middle lane. There was no tower there for Counter, so he knew that he had to use a very early wild growth to make sure that he could survive that.
Manages to keep himself alive, which is key. Unfortunately, Copenhagen Wolves forced to blow that teleport summoner spell, so now Youngbuck can't afford to be caught out of position. And considering the importance of movement in this bottom half of the map, because of the pressure Gambit have put on it, it does mean Youngbuck needs to be very aware of what his opponents are doing. Darren is looking like he's going to build an Athenes and Holy Grail, so it's going to be a different kind of build on this Kayle than we're used to seeing. And finally he's moving top, but he's, you know, a level behind, he's 40 CS down. Really need to keep our eyes on how this matchup is going to play out.
But also has intervention, so probably isn't even worried about Youngbuck. Can keep his distance onto him there this entire time, kiting with a slow and his own speed up should he need it from that heal. Diamond did just come around for a bit of a look in after Edward had cleared out the wards there by Blue, but nothing really to do there. Just want to look at the AD carries again. For all that time that Ro8 had free in the top lane, he's actually behind in CS now to Genja.
Yeah, Genja was farming very well. Genja was under a lot of pressure from Copenhagen Wolves. There was you know, pressure on the tower, he roamed for Dragon, etc. But he has been doing well last hitting. Got himself that Bloodthirster. I do think it's going to take him a little more time to hit a scary point. Count on an Airwax. He's just going to zone away Edward. Ro8 has not roamed. He's not looked for those ambushes that we've come to expect from Twitches. And after 20 minutes of movement around the map, there's been so much importance on wards and vision. Copenhagen Wolves now, all of their wards are defensive. They're anticipating Gambit getting in their jungle. Let's see how Darren deals with this. By walking away.
A spectacular escape there. A couple of steps forward.
It's not something I always say about Darren.
Well, that is true as well. So obviously keeping his cool this time around. He's got Edward there for a bit of support. He's going to have Diamond as well. This is a position where the Copenhagen Wolves may need to be a little bit cautious as to what happens. There's a lot of CC between the three of them. However, wards were already down in the tri-bush. No wards down here though, as they push onto
They're going to catch Coutard.
Coutard is way down the lane. He's going to speed himself up. There's the kick against the wall. Have they got the damage here to finish him off? It's a flash from Coutard to get him out of safety. That would have surely been death because the Zenith Blade would have landed from Edward.
Yeah, very well-timed flash to get away from Edward's Zenith Blade. Diamond actually did a pretty smart decision. Using the Dragon's Rage to knock Coutard into the wall guaranteed the Sonic Wave connection, which then guaranteed the red buff to be applied. So, pretty smart combination of events. Unfortunately, the commitment of members in the mid lane has exposed Gambit's bottom outer turret, and Ro8 and Unlimited grabbed the third turret of the game practically unopposed. They pushed the top lane. Darien offered very little in the way of resistance, and Ro8 and Unlimited just keep farming and moving around looking for those objectives. So, you know, the last outer turret for Gambit is in the middle.
Staying out of harm's way, really, as Ro8 this entire time. The attempted 4-man dive was thwarted nicely by the Copenhagen Wolves earlier. We have hit the 20-minute mark, so let's take a overall look at proceedings here. He's, of course, still waiting for this first blood. This can actually be real dangerous for Coutard. There's a slow coming down. The polymorph coming in, and Darren says, I'm going to keep going onto you in this one, but Coutard, a couple of levels above him, still able to do enough damage to force him off. However, Diamond is coming back around the side, will be spotted early enough by wards here, though, from the Copenhagen Wolves, and we'll walk back out.
So a couple of levels and an item advantage. I did like Darien's patience. He only committed to the fight once that first Glitzer Lance had actually been used, which obviously mitigated a lot of damage. But Darien's still trying to find his way back into this game, I think is the best way to talk about it. He's gone for an unorthodox play style, and he's gone for an unorthodox build from what we're used to seeing out of Kales. But Copenhagen Wolves haven't really been able to respond. Copenhagen Wolves have taken advantage of Gambit's misgivings. So Copenhagen Wolves have got 3 towers because Gambit have not been there to defend in real force. Gambit have got dragons out of the deal, and they've been pushing Copenhagen Wolves around the map. So the question is, do Gambit eventually start plugging these holes? They gave up a massive amount of turrets against Fnatic, but still won through absolute dragon control. We're seeing a somewhat similar game developing here.
holding here on position. There is a ward in the back of the pit from the Wolves. Can they have that dragon pulled right out to the neck of its pit? And I think it's going to go down too quickly for them to be able to stop it. There is the dragon pick up TP from Youngbuck. Will bring him right to the front of things. And actually, he's going to dive on through. That's a great four-man solar flare at the back from Eddie. But is it enough to actually keep him alive? There's a lot of focus coming his way. He will have to flash as a colleague comes through as well. Edward's still being chased. There's the bomb finally coming out. And the Copenhagen Wolves now will have to back away. They've already lost one man. His first blood onto Airwax going to Genja.
That could have been so different if Darien did not cancel his teleport. Copenhagen Wolves were split up once they got into the jungle. Not everybody could make it over the wall together, so Gambit, on the retreat, just used a lot of very good abilities. That four-man solar flare from Edward did so much work in helping his team out. Genja gets first blood, a bunch of assists down the rest of the board, and Diamond, unfortunately, missing some key skill shots. Last week it was the similar on Elise. He didn't hit as many cocoons as we're used to seeing out of Diamond.
Well, still got time to impress us this game with those. And already, to be fair, good hit against Calzard earlier into the wall. See, yeah, a lot of damage coming through, and now the burst that we're used to seeing out of a Kayle from the mid lane, or at least the masses of attack speed, not really coming through this time for Darien because of his build. Got more the Snail Kayle build.
Snail Kayle, indeed. It will take a long time for Darien to be terrifying, but what is great is just how much headroom Gambit's composition does have. As Kayle continues to, make up the CS that he's lost, he's going to become a lot more powerful. He's going to have the tools, like you said, the intervention to help out Diamond when he goes for those insect-style kicks and goes for those engages. Youngbuck is doing a pretty good job. He's rushed a Banshee Veil as his very first item, and when you consider the ability power threat from his opponents, it does make a lot of sense. And he's actually running a little scared. He's not looking to duel Darien. The rest of Copenhagen Wolves seems to be in lane.
Well, we all know how that ends when there's a Ziggs on the other side. Throws down his ultimate, and that wave is all of a sudden gone. That one close to connecting onto Coutard. He did have unlimited, just waiting off to the side there to give him a little bit of backup.
Look at the mid lane.
There. Woolite actually coming around from the side to jump away with the satchel charge was used. Edward though going to be hooked in here. This could be bad news for Edward. Intervention used, they turn it around, and now Unlimited the one that will fall. It's Diamond that picks up that kill, but will they be able to get any more from it? Doesn't look that way. Youngbuck's had to walk all the way down from the top lane. Will dive right into the middle of them, but that may cost him his life. He's going to get wild growth onto him. Will he fall? He's still alive at the back. Woolite has managed himself one, which will give him the double, and Airwax lands a cocoon, but doesn't have the damage, and now Nick flashing over the wall, bouncing bomb lands. Brilliant from Nick.
So at the end of the day, it trades a 2-for-2, if memory serves. The middle lane engage started pretty well for Copenhagen Wolves. They caught Gambit out of position, but the solar flare not hitting the strongest number of people. Good re-engage from Youngbuck. This is now the second half of the fight. Had Youngbuck maybe had a little more HP to work with, that could have done well, but that was a 3- or 4-man knockup. And Woolite just very sneaky from the back line, cleaning up on Twitch. Gambit have the potential to find picks and find kills if those solar flare connects. Part of the reason they didn't win the team fight outright is because of the fact that Edward Solar Flare was a little focused on shutting down Woolite and protecting his teammates. So a good counter-engage from Copenhagen Wolves.
I'm impressed with how Nick controlled himself during those fights with the use of that satchel charge. Seemingly spent more time in the air flying away from danger than anything else. Darien also got himself finally up to that 100 CS mark. Still leaves him a chunk of gold behind everything though. Got himself the Stinger now in on top of his Athenes on Holy Grail, the starting item that he went for. There's going to be a Randuin's though on the other side for Youngbuck.
So I want to highlight just the differences between Youngbuck and Darien. Darien just hit level 12 this second. Youngbuck is currently level 13, about a full level ahead. If you look at the gold difference, even though there is 60 CS separating these two players, the gold is only 600. Which is a lot less than what it would be. 60 CS would equate to a lot. Oh, that's Darien caught out. Maybe.
Oh, using the intervention. Woolite actually going to try and get in position, and he will manage to get it. The intervention not enough there to save Darien, as Diamond and Airwax having an altercation down by the red buff area as well. little bit of a scrappy skirmish game, this one.
And because Darien is so far behind in items and has this unorthodox build, he's able to get 1v1 that easily by Ro8. Ro8 just snuck up in him from behind. I actually am not even sure if Darien had a Runan and Nash's Tooth, if it made a big difference, because Ro8's got a lot of CS under his belt. But Ro8 needs to make that work more for him. He needs to find more of those kills, because Genja is equally powerful and slightly less kills, but is equal on CS, got that static shift built up, got that bloodthirster, so he's going to be hitting like a truck once he gets that last whisper completed in a few moments' time.
A lot of ward fighting going on in the bottom side of the river, and good calls because Dragon will be coming into play again here in less than half a minute's time. Gambit already in position for that. They're going to push up that bottom wave. They've already got control of the middle waves and even getting some deep vision down as Genja throws an early culling out to try and get them back.
Yeah, and again, it's just to control. Because Dragon is so close, Gambit are playing a little more focused around the objectives, especially in the Dragon. They're looking to get just absolute and utter control of this area. They have done so since the opening minutes of the game. And look for Nick's Mega Inferno Bomb. If Copenhagen Wolves group up, Nick may just use this to zone and grab Gambit another Dragon. Copenhagen Wolves are so hesitant to engage because of how poorly the last fight went.
Another solar flare coming in. They've actually gone on towards Countdown. Edward maybe a little bit deep for this one. Youngbuck diving into the middle as well. Edward falling low but doesn't go down. Darien though having to use the intervention on himself, but there's a lot of damage back. Couple of low men on either side of the table, and the Dragon going down, but no one following him.
No kills secured. Nick still has his Mega Inferno Bomb available, is playing very safely with it, and Gambit still looking to re-engage. They're scaring the Wolves away. They've got themselves a healthy gold lead, and the shred from Darien's Kayle did a pretty good job. Youngbuck dove into the team and took a whole bunch of Kayle auto attacks. Darien even got away from that fight alive, thanks to that intervention.
Well, the siege comes in. We all know how hard that can be against a Ziggs who's got a death cap now, a second blasting one on top of his Athenes, and Gambit able to just bully him away from what was left of that inner turret. Well, stealthing up though here. Will he be able to find anyone? I don't think so. Going blind into the jungle is not something you want to do.
No, never. It's not worth the risk. Even with the amount of damage and items Ro8 has, he could just run into a whole bunch of members. And this very interesting start to the game has actually led to giving Gambit a very healthy lead. Even though you've got this sort of awkward Kayle, because of Kayle's abilities, the heal, the movement speed, the slow, and the intervention, even when you're behind on gold and items, you are still effective, you are still useful in a more utility kind of way. And I think Gambit have done something unique. Whether it's good against other teams remains to be seen, but fact is, at 30 minutes, they've got a 6,000 gold lead, they've taken every single Dragon, and they're bullying the Wolves around, so you can't deny it's working in this matchup. Working
for them, and at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. If you're fighting on a match-to-match basis, that the ones that you those special plans that you put together get you a win at the end of the day. Maybe not something that you can do 2 times in a row, or as you said, maybe against the top of the table teams, but a win is a win, especially when you're tied up with the Copenhagen Wolves in 7th position. But game's not over just yet. We're only 30 minutes into this one. We've seen bigger swings in gold. Yeah, we really have, and I actually still prefer Copenhagen Wolves team fight composition. Once Siobhan and Elise jump in, a Lulu Wild Growth is going to be so disruptive, and Thresh can peel and protect for Ro8 all day long. The only thing Copenhagen Wolves need to ensure they avoid is those multi-man solar flares, because if they do get caught, it's all on Edward and all of his charges to make something happen. They caught Darien, but I don't know if they really want to commit to this fight. We'll find out. No, Hook and a Cocoon, although he's supposed to use the intervention. Youngbuck at the back going low. There's a Wild Growth coming around. The bomb will absolutely blast the Wolves down. Genja steps forward. Nick is right at the front. He got hooked. Will flash, but not getting away from the damage. And the Wolves are turning this one around. Ro8 wasn't able to finish anyone off. But look how many glowing red health bars we have. Gambit back away. It ends up in a 1-for-0. Gambit were not able to get the focus on the right targets. Because Copenhagen Wolves had all of that mobility and movement and, the Wild Growth to save people, they were able to get away. The teleport coming out from Youngbuck is going to keep him back in the team fight, and that's Copenhagen Wolves with a good counterplay. Unfortunate for Gambit that even with a good re-engage and a strong use of that intervention, it was them getting hooked that started that whole chain of events.
I do think with slightly better targeting on the key champions on Wolves, they may have come out in a better situation.
Well, it leaves us close in terms of kills and in turrets as well. So the gold advantage lying with Gambit, though they've demonstrated great control over the Dragon itself, and also keeping tabs on the vision that they put down entirely in the Copenhagen Wolves jungle. This blue buff has been warded for what seems like a good 15-20 minutes by now. Nick is actually going to go over to his blue and see that that one is already taken away from him, and that won't be able to pick that one up. So we move into a slower pace of the game. So let's have a look down some of the items, because we have seen some big ones coming in for Youngbuck. Got himself that Randuin's on top of his Banshees opening. The AD carries somewhere to really touch on, because they've got most of the farm in this game. The Phantom Dancer and the Bladed Rune King completed fairly early. We're going to see a Solar Flare, but flashed away from Unlimited. I'm
going to take a look at the items and the golds and the kill spread. If Gambit are able to kill Woolite, there's no damage really elsewhere on the map. Coutard can do well with his death cap, but once his Glitter Lance is down, there's not a lot more burst. Because Youngbuck has not gone for a Blade of the Rune King, and Airwax has gone for the tank Elise, not the Spell Pain or the damage Elise, it means Copenhagen Wolves are banking on keeping Woolite alive. So I retract my earlier statement of saying that a 5-man Solar Flare is going to be important. It's protect Woolite that's going to be so incredibly important. Youngbuck, Airwax, and Unlimited have to provide enough protection and enough crowd control to keep Gambit at bay, while Woolite just lays the smackdown, because he's got an incredible amount of damage to work with. That Phantom Dancer, BF Sword, Blade of the Rune King, and Last Whisper means he can tear through anybody on Gambit that's not interventioned. Or whatever the ability is. Yeah.
Intervention.
Yeah, hit with intervention.
Exactly. We all knew what you meant. It's all fine. We've got less than 30 seconds again until another Dragon comes into play here. And those mid being reset right in the middle. We'll see who's going to get control. There's really not a lot of wards down there at the moment. Gambit with the real Soul 2 on the bottom side of the map, inside of the Wolves' jungle by the Wraith camp and by the red buff camp as well. But the Wolves have already pushed Gambit a little bit further back there. We see the Baron wards already being exchanged between the two teams, and the Wolves now starting to move down towards Dragon.
Yeah, we'll see if Wolves can actually secure this. Nick, Diamond have real steal potential with that Lee Sin and with the Mega Inferno Bomb. Because Woolite is just so well farmed and fed with kills, he's going to solo Dragon before anyone from Gambit can respond. And this is the first time the entire game that Gambit have not made an aggressive play for the Dragon. They are going to steal a blue buff. I still think they need to get more wards. We've seen Gambit pushing around Copenhagen Wolves map so extensively. If you look at the vision right now, there's not a whole lot on the minimap for them to work with.
More walls for Gambit being taken away. They're on the top side of the map here, and there's another one put right down on top of them as Diamond lands his Q onto Unlimited, but not really wise to follow that one through at this stage. And I think the Wolves going to group up as 5 and push right back.
Yeah, even if Gambit wanted to fight, Genja wasn't there. Genja was forced to go top lane to shove that wave back and get rid of it. Genja's done a pretty good job this game of being with his team more. It's something that we criticize him of quite frequently during the spring split of farming. Oh, they put Darian!
Oh, Darian. Said intervention would be good for him, but didn't quite get it off that time. CC chain coming in onto him, and he will go down without anything to offer. That leaves the Wolves with a 5 versus 4. 35 minutes in, 30-second spawn time on Darian. Do they think about Baron?
And they shouldn't, because of the fact that they have to deal with Ziggs. Because if they commit to Baron, they're going to take all of that AoE damage. It is very, very risky. They can bait it, though. If Copenhagen will stop Baron and peel away for the fight, that could be their way to get more objectives. Let's see how much damage Nick can land down. Mega Inferno Bomb could be used just for the poke, but that's going so low so quickly.
A lot coming in, but the calling from the side also causing problems. They've managed to hook Diamond, and there's a follow-through from Unlimited, but he may actually die from this. He will be finished up. The bomb goes onto Woolite at the back. Diamond actually flashing away. Here comes Darian back into the fight as well. With the teleport, Diamond has come back in. He may pay the ultimate price. A double kill coming out for Woolite. There's another one. Darian, for the second time in less than 2 minutes, falls as well. Genja's trying to find Youngbuck, but he may just fall down himself or not. He's got a lot of damage here. Gets one. Woolite has finished off Nick. Genja, though, still running through. Does get one back. Well, that is a 4 for 2 in favor of the Wolves.
4 for 2, and like we talked about, the Copenhagen Wolves had a comp that needed to peel away for that one. They couldn't take extended periods of damage from Nick. Nick got a pretty good Mega Inferno Bomb onto most of the members of the Wolves, but unfortunately for Gambit, they simply didn't have the numbers required. By the time Darian's teleport had finished, the rest of the team was backing away. Genja has the culling available. He's going to look for a kill, maybe even the Baron, or not, run away. No, I didn't.
I thought he was going to try and...
No vision. Oh, he even had vision.
Yeah, try and be the hero there is what I thought. Wasn't quite the case, but here's the start of that fight again.
So, the key again is just Unlimited with a good pick. Unfortunately, for Gambit, Unlimited gets pulled right into the middle of the team. He gets a great box down, and by the time Darian's teleport finishes, the rest of Gambit on retreats, and there's the protection we talked about. Woolite gets the wild growth, he uses Summon a Heal on himself, and actually very aggressively flashes forward looking for the kill. As long as Woolite is alive, I don't think Gambit can win team fights, so they need to be so careful. And look at that crit, just Woolite is just so strong. 8-0-1. Well done, fantasy points.
That was close as well. Diamond coming in just to get a ward down, guys, and almost getting hooked away. Safeguard just to get out of danger, but Baron on the Copenhagen Wolves here, still actually, funnily enough, behind in gold overall. We'll see what they can do with this Baron buff on them. We always talk about how hard it is to get past the Ziggs, especially one that's got himself a Death Cap, got himself the Void Staff, the Athenes, and now a Zhonya's Hourglass as well. Because
of the comp that Copenhagen Wolves have, they've got the option to just dive onto him. They can just throw Shyvana or Elise onto that back line, use the wild growth from Lulu, and then Woolite can just wait for his moment to jump in there and find a pick. I'd love to see Woolite grab himself a Guardian Angel next because of how important his damage is to the rest of his team. But the Copenhagen Wolves, they're looking to play the mat game that we've seen Super Haku play fairly well. Put pressure on multiple lanes, force Gambit to respond. There's no teleport on Darren. Remember, he did use it in the Baron pit a few minutes ago.
Average game time of both teams, and Gambit about 3 minutes slower, funnily enough, than the Wolves. And it was the Wolves that we talked about last split that were really struggling to finish off games, even when they had massive leads. And it was Gambit who we thought were, one of the stronger teams when they get an inhibitor down. When they pick up a Baron, they just charge on through and win the game. But funnily enough, it's the Wolves this split that have that advantage. As Woolite split pushing here, trying to get himself in there. But look at the damage coming out. Intervention was used, but really wasn't needed. And they take down Woolite and may look for more.
That was so good from Genja. If Genja can get onto Woolite, you can see how quickly you can kill him. The problem now is, can Copenhagen Wolves defend without their primary damage source?
Glitterland was the key there to stop Unlimited being picked off. The Q from Diamond didn't quite have a range. Zenith Blade was off range as well, but Gambit actually charging down this mid lane.
Yeah, but they know they've got the numbers advantage, and they do have the engage potential from Edward. This is going to be an inhibitor turret at least. If they stick around for the inhibitor, they need to be very careful not to get engaged upon. The peel from Thresh and the potential poke from Lulu is good, but again, there's no damage. There's no damage on Youngbuck. There's no damage on Airwax. Their only damage sources is Kautar's Burst. He doesn't even have a Lich Bane yet, and Woolite. So without Woolite, Copenhagen Wolves are a little in trouble.
Especially if he gets blown to pieces like that. Last little, well, this wasn't even a fight, was it? It was simply Diamond, sorry, no, not even that, either of those two. Genja going straight in there. It was Darian who gave him the intervention. Much needed intervention, we're going to call it at the end, to keep him alive. And now the Wolves actually trying to turn this one around. Kautar going to be moving through. Elise will repel off to the minions. Have they got the range? That's a good solar flare to slow down two of them. But Edward may be in trouble. The Glitterlance comes across the side. Youngbuck will dive into the middle. Wild Growth going to be used as well. They need to get onto the back though, because the damage from Genja and Nick is absolutely immense. Edward will fall. They can probably kill off one more. That's a max range cocoon. Darian goes down. The bomb from Nick gets one back though.
They end up trading 2 for 2 because the Copenhagen Wolves took too long to get Woolite in play. Gambit, while on the retreat, put a lot of damage down. Nick, his bouncing bombs were melting through the Copenhagen Wolves. Woolite now wants Genja.
Want some revenge, I think, after got destroyed down in the bottom lane. Not today though, or certainly not yet in this game. Wolves backing away, and certainly an interesting turn of events. The Wolves picking up Baron, Gambit getting one kill and pushing through and taking the first inhibitor of the game.
Yeah, that's going to give them a lot of presence on the map, which should, in theory, allow Gambit to make plays for the next Baron, or alternatively, look to control those side lanes. There's only 2 inner turrets still standing for the Copenhagen Wolves. Darien has just completed himself a Lich Bane, so there's not a massive amount of ability power for him to work with, but it should allow Gambit's team comp to actually take towers and objectives even quicker. He's going to have all of that attack speed, his range from his Righteous Fury, and obviously the on-hit that Lich Bane will provide him. But it is still a very interesting pickup. Darien's Kayle has been hit and miss in different team fights. It's worked in some circumstances. The previous one, for example, his intervention didn't offer a whole lot. And Genja may actually be able to 1v1 Youngbuck, because he's got so much damage to play with.
I don't think he'll need to 1v1 him. The rest of Gambit starting to close around Diamond will actually be the first man to come in. He's going to kick him away from the safety of his tower. Now they've just realized that Woolite's there as well. And I don't think they want that fight.
No, they definitely don't. In order to dive Woolite under the tower, Gambit needed to be closer knit, and they simply weren't grouped up well enough to go for that. No Dragon's Rage kick from Diamond. He was moving through the jungle, get some vision down in the top half, and we'll need to see how quickly he can rejoin. Unlimited wants to get the death sentence down, but the disengage from Ziggs is very effective.
Yeah, really good minefield there to slow the 2 chasers. Stopping them getting in. Meanwhile, red buff spawning in on the Wolves' side of the map. Diamond already on the way to picking that one up. His vision of it from the Wolves' side, but while he's in that rush, can't do anything about it. Diamond able to steal another buff. The question now is, will he get caught out by Woolite?
I think so.
Going to come around the corner. He gets a slow down. There is the Blade of the Ruined King used, but actually backing away as he sees the rest of Gambit coming in.
Very smart play from Woolite. The risk of chasing into the fog of war is obviously not something Copenhagen Wolves want to do. And if you look at the vision, Copenhagen Wolves have got very defensive wards just above their current position. There's no other vision on the map for them to work with. So Gambit are going to be relying on the heals from Kayle and then Athene's and Holy Grail to keep Diamond healthy, while the super minions do the work on the Nexus turret.
Yeah, they're going to have to back away as someone from the Wolves is going to have to back off all of them, which seems to be the path that they've taken. But they've already lost 1 Nexus turret. The second one is being hammered away on as well here. Oh, not because we are going to see that one saved. Either way, Inhibitor did spawn. I wonder where the health bar went, as we are going to see Unlimited get on, but he's going to surely go down. Knocks into the rest of the team. Airwax there in the middle. Youngbuck dives in as they pick off Edward. That's a 1-for-1 up till now. There's Nick jumping away again, and Gambit being ripped to pieces here. Genja will fall. Can they get any more back? It's a crazy, crazy fight. In the end, 3 for 2 in favor of the Wolves.
3 for 2. The Wolves are able to keep Woolite alive while running down members of Gambit. Nick is now caught out.
Oh, he's going to try and... I'm not sure he's getting away. Oh, that was a nice little Zhonya's, but will he go down straight after? He gets the kill, but he will fall to Youngbuck in the end.
The question is, does the inhibitor go down? The minions from Gambit have been bashing away. The middle inhibitor has actually fallen. So Gambit's minions have reset. Super minions are pouring down the middle lane. If we look at the top lane turret in a moment, the minions have been doing so much work. Even though Gambit come out worse for wear in the team fight, 4 for 3, the fact that they've got super minions and almost got that tower does mean they come out ahead in objectives. Super minions are going to continue pushing the middle lane, and I think Gambit are going to start playing around Baron.
Baron is in there, of course. The Wolves taking the first one of this matchup. Gambit themselves are now 2,000 gold in the lead overall. We actually see needlessly large rod coming in from Darren, so he's, as I said, the Snail Kayle build is finally getting to the position where he's going to be blowing people up. And that is a scary, scary thought for the Copenhagen Wolves. Granted, they did well in that last team fight. Youngbuck become so tanky in this one that he can dive in there, but the damage still can get through him if he's going a little bit too deep, which has been possibly in the last couple when he dives right to the
I really would have liked to have seen a Blade of the Ruined King on Youngbuck, give him some damage to work with, so that when he jumps into a fight, he can do something. Unlimited has got the help of Counter, but they're about to run into the entire Russian team because the Baron is the objective that we've talked about. Super minions are being controlled by Woolite, and thanks to their very aggressive play, Copenhagen Wolves have got vision control of that area. They haven't cleared out all of Gambit's wards, but they've got a lot of vision down themselves, so that's going to give them the information that they need to play with. The important thing to note is how many kills Gambit secured, even while losing Genja. even on the retreat, they managed to get 3 members of the Copenhagen Wolves while losing 4. So Gambit, because of their multiple sources of damage, they're not as reliant on Genja staying alive in these fights.
Here we go. We see Edward going in. That's a great playback from Unlimited, stopping any signs of a fight really from kicking off there. It's that minion wave with the super minions, of course, now that Inhib went down again. Halted at the midway point as Edward again going to get hooked. Have they got the damage to finish him off this time? Intervention already used. There is a solar flare. Will lock up too. The bomb will follow through as well. They don't get a kill just yet, but Youngbuck slowed down. The spider goes flying back, and now Youngbuck still back in. Edward going to be hammering away. They need to deal with Ro8 here on the side, and there is the dealing with Ro8. It's Genja that comes in. Intervention used to finish him off, and now they may be able to follow through. Diamond going to go deep onto Airwax, but he finished off himself. 3 for 2 for Gambit.
Yeah, but very importantly, Genja with his Guardian Angel and all of the damage is still alive. If Gambit are able to get onto the top lane, they should be able to get the top turret or potentially go for that last standing Nexus turret. There's only one left available. The team instead decide to go back potentially for Baron. There are 3 damage sources here available. Deny that objective from their opponents and look to win the next team fight. In the mid lane, it was all about Ro8. Gambit were able to re-engage even though Edward was the one that was caught out. And because they killed Ro8, he straight up won the fight. Countdown's going to try and interfere. I think he's going to be so careful because he could get bursted down by so many members of Gambit.
However, Darian is going to have to back away from this one, and there is the kill onto Baron. Airwax is going to come across the side, but that's a suicide mission for him. The kill goes over to Genja as well, who's now 9-1-3 overall, doing a fantastic job here on the Lucian.
Yeah, very, very well played by Genja. He's just farmed his way into the game. He's been well positioned in every single team fight. The previous fight that he died was just because Copenhagen was committed so many resources and Counter got some great Glitzer Lancers onto him. But I do think Copenhagen Wolves just invested so much in Protect the Ro8 and they can't reliably do it every fight. And now we'll need to see how they defend against this Baroned up, a couple of the Baroned up members of Gambit, because they've set their sights on the inhibitor, which is exposed. And remember, the top lane turret is very, very low. So if Gambit get any sort of presence there, they can immediately go for it. But look at the minimap, minions in favor of the Wolves.
Darian with that Lich Bane on, and the rest of the team now joining in will shred through that Inhib. No real problem for them there. Where are they going to go next though? As you said, top lane, low turret, which has been regenerating for quite a while. It looks like Gambit may even want to try and squeeze the Wolves back into their base completely. Let's not forget that one Nexus turret already went down earlier on.
And you contrast Gambit's style of play now to Super Haku in the previous game. The minions have been in favor of the Wolves, and that's allowed Youngbuck to just teleport top and sneak away a turret. If Youngbuck had committed to the inhib, it may have opened Gambit to go for a backdoor of their own. So Mega Inferno Bomb used to clear the wave. You can see that on the minimap. Youngbuck, we'll see if he can get away. He should. Gambit have sent this side to the Dragon. A bit of an awkward passage of play, but exposed inhibitor for Gambit. If they make big mistakes, Copenhagen Wolves do have a way back into the match.
And that might become a second one. Look at this, the Wolves going up towards his top lane. Ro8 will be the one to show himself. There's 3 men there. Only Edward actually has come back to defend so far, so this turret looking like it's going to go down.
Yeah, it really does. We do see the engage on Ro8 though, and here comes Gambit.
Well, throwing a lot onto him. Here comes Genja finally. Ro8 instantly down to half HP. The box going to be thrown in there. Nick knocking everyone around. And here comes Darian from the backside. Well, couldn't follow too far through on that one. Was hit with the Glitter Lance. They do a good chunk of damage. Don't get the turret though.
I really would have liked to have seen Ro8 maybe getting a few more hits onto the turret instead of the minion wave. May have got that a little lower, maybe even secured it. But nevertheless, Copenhagen Wolves still showing some strong map play. Teleport is down from Youngbuck. Darian's used his teleport as well. And the Wolves are not out of the game, but they do have a lot of work to make up, a lot of ground to make up. And if they can keep surprising Gambit with their movements and their tower pushes, that's a definite way to bring themselves back into this game.
Always need to keep an eye on that mid lane though. If they lose focus of that, we saw what happened earlier on when they lost focus of it, and that was all around the inner turret on the bottom lane. They lost the Nexus turret for it, and even the inhibitor straight away afterwards as that had respawned. The minions just went off and took it down once again, but Genja can't knock his positioning so far today. 425 minions to his name, 913 overall. Guardian Angel still to be popped.
Yeah, I agree, and I think had either team had more wards to work with, they could have done more of those previous pushes. We'll touch on that in a second. Edward is going to get caught.
He's going to get caught, but do they have the damage to finish him off? Tanky by this time of the game with that Randuin's in there, and I don't think he does. Gambit now pushing through that middle lane. The Wolves are all coming around the bottom. They need to react quickly.
Yeah, I don't know if they can get in range. There's only one tower remaining. The rest of Gambit look like they want to set up a final siege here.
Super minions coming through. There's the calling news at the back. Youngbuck going to dive in. Wild Growth going to be thrown on top, but I think Youngbuck might be picked off before the rest of the team can come around. Airwax is up there as well, but Genja can do the damage as they do follow through. Diamond gets that kill for them. Unlimited gets the hook on Darien. He uses the intervention on himself. Well, that's already one man down. They're having to back away. They've lost the Nexus turret as well. Gambit surely got the damage here. They finish off one. The Nexus now with a focus. Kautar has to flash away. I'm not sure they can finish it off, you know. Woolite has come back out. Youngbuck has come back out. There is Kautar. He's going to fall to Genja, and surely Nick will be able to finish off Woolite. Scans at the end. Gambit get the ace and finish off the Nexus. Very exciting game.
Very interesting game from the get-go. The Snail Kale build ending up 0-7-11. We thought intervention might have helped Darien a little more than maybe it actually did in the game. But I think that was a much more objective-focused Gambit than we've become used to seeing. And that early game advantage just crippled Copenhagen Wolves. They invested too much tank across the rest of the lanes.
Yeah, a lot of tank, and we made that point a couple of times that where was the damage coming from? We saw from Kautar that he had that initial burst, but there was no real follow-through. Woolite had to be there for them. Woolite had to be doing the damage. He was full build by the end with the Zephyr. Picked himself up a Banshee's Veil for a bit of protection. Infinity Edge was in there with a Phantom Dancer, and everything you would possibly need he had, but if he gets focused down quickly, what are you going to do?
It's a one-threat team. It's something that CLG North America was very guilty of last split. They would run Protect the double of comps, Protect the AD carry comps, and it theoretically could work, but unfortunately there was so much damage down the line of Gambit and enough engage from, range from Ziggs, engage from Lee Sin, engage from Leona, that there was tools that Gambit could use to get to Woolite. And every time they did, they won the fight. Every time they didn't, they lost the fight. It was that simple as the game progressed. But I really think there's going to be a lot of talking points for those first 20 minutes because Gambit legitimately said we don't care about top lane. Kind of worked out though. Like, it's so weird to say, but it kind of worked out.
Well, I didn't expect it to because Woolite is there alone farming with literally zero pressure on him. In the bottom lane, Genja, it was a 4 against 3 or 2 against 3 or 2 against 2 for pretty much the entire laning phase. And funnily enough, he came out level in CS throughout that entire pressure phase. Also want to give a well-deserved heads up to Edward because some of those solar flares were definitely game-changing.
Yeah, I completely agree. The little bit of the curveball with the top lane Kale as well, it threw me for a loop. I thought it was support first, ended up going top lane. And, locking the engage in was the one thing that the composition was lacking from Gambit. And every time he got caught by Unlimited, they just instantly turned the tables. The Zenith Blade into the Solar Flare. But what I really, really liked from Gambit was just, I think, the recognition of we need to just focus Woolite. And that's all they targeted, all they tunneled on every team fight after the 20-30 minute mark.
Nick as well finishing 5-3-13 in that. And we saw one fight in particular in the middle where he was bouncing himself around constantly. I think there were 3 satchel charges in a row, which actually got him out of range of dying. And Nick has really grown since the start. If you remember all the way back to his 0-0-0 Nidalee performance where he just didn't really do anything, he's definitely come on as a player.
I completely agree. I do think this game as well, somewhat hesitant maybe in the early game with those Mega Inferno Bombs. It's not the longest of cooldowns, but you can't critique because it did end up working very well. He got the damage down in the necessary times and helped his team secure the victory.
Well, we are going to check in with Shox and Deficio, who are ready to talk to Gambit's Nick after that win.
Thank you very much, Joe. We indeed have Gambit's now permanent mid laner Nick here with us for the first time at the interview desk. Congratulations on the win. Let's take it back to the beginning as there were interesting picks coming out for you guys. How much of a plan was that going in?
Yes, I think we actually picked everything we wanted and it transitioned really well.
I have to ask about their Darien. In the early game, he actually went mid lane with you to just 2v1 against Coulthard. What was their tactic there?
Yeah, so actually Darren is like this crazy top laner. It could be only him to come up with this tactic. Like I watched him doing this in scrims and it was really good. So like when we have Ziggs, who is already strong mid laner versus Lulu, and we have Darren coming to support me, Lulu was pretty much shut down in early and mid game.
Darren with the tactic.
Yeah, it seems like you've already fit in the team really well if you're saying those things. How has it been generally stepping into this team with a lot of players that have been playing together for so long and being the new force?
So it's really great because I was always like big fan of Gambit, and right now I can play with them. I don't know what can I say. Like it's really good.
It's pretty good actually. And how is it then to play in the LCS now?
Yeah, it's good too. Like I have been playing for the scene quite a long time, so it's really great experience.
Well, it's great to have you here as well. Thank you very much and congratulations once again. And now let's head back over to Joe and Quickshot to take a look at the table.
Thank you very much, guys. And with half of week 3 complete, the numbers have changed, but the table pretty much still looks the same. So let's have a look at it. Alliance remain at the top of the table with 6 wins and 1 loss. And SK Gaming and the Super Hot Crew both sit in second with a tie at 5 wins, 2 losses.
Now, likewise, Fnatic and Millennium remain tied for 4th, although they have now been joined by Gambit. And all 3 teams have a 3 wins and 4 losses record. Copenhagen Wolves have moved down to 7th place alone at 2 and 5. And Ro8 is still in last position, but solo now at 1 and 6, searching for a leveled up performance.
Ties across the board, just like we like to see it here. And we have, of course, more action coming your way on Friday from the LCS. We'll begin the day with Gambit versus SK Gaming, followed by Millennium taking on the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, after that, the Super Hot Crew will face Alliance, and then Fnatic takes on Ro8. And after our matches conclude, the European Challenger Series quarterfinals will resume with H2K Gaming versus SK Gaming Prime in a best of 3.
And that all begins tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central European Summer Time, which is 9 a.m. Pacific. But right now it's time for today's European Challenger Series quarterfinal as Denial Esports take on Lublin Shore. So guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. What's up? European Challenger Series is here, and of course brought to you thanks in part to our friends at Coca-Cola. I'm David Frick-Turley. With me is Aiden, Zyrene, Moon, and it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really fun day. We have Denial versus Team Lublin Shore, like they mentioned. Former MYM, former Mouse Sports, and you know they're going places.
Yeah, it's gonna
a lot of these guys.
It's gonna be a whole bunch of fun. So we've got a lot of action for you today. 3rd-ranked Denial Esports is gonna make its return to the Challenger Series. Of course, they did play in the promotion tournament. They're taking on that 6th seed of Lublin Shore, and it's going to be our game today.
Yeah, Denial Esports has had to deal with some adversity lately. The team came up just short in their bid to join the EU LCS, like you said. They lost 3-1 to the Copenhagen Wolves in the summer promotion tournament, and since then, Denial has also lost 2 of its top players to the LCS, thanks to their impressive spring performances. And those 2 players, Nick and Woolite, came up big today, too.
We just saw them.
Yeah.
One of them won, and one of them did not.
Former teammates against each other, and they both had really great scores.
Oh, yeah, they were pretty massive. So you're going to see talent like that on a team like this. Yeah. They've got to make up for it. Now, mid laner Nick, of course, was picked up by Gambit. AD carry Willite was, denied Denial Esports. They played them in the promotion tournament. But after those guys left, they've had to rebuild that roster. So now team chemistry is something you're really going to have to watch for in this matchup.
Yeah, and if it's chemistry class right now, then the components are bonding for Lublin Shore, who are set to play in their 3rd match of the Summer Series 1 already. They, too, lost a key member in old shot caller jungler Mokate, but the new lineup is doing just fine with a retooled roster of Kikis at jungle and Jokis up top. The result, 2 victories in the Summer Series 1.
See if the team can make it into the semifinals in this one. Now, in the Challenger Series, we have a way to actually visually represent victories. We move teams to the right, or for you guys, to the right in the bracket. The first round of the quarterfinals took place last week, and Ninjas in Pajamas came out on top against Unicorns of Love, 2-0. They're going to face Gamers 2 in the semis, who also swept Chantal Machtbau.
And the other semi-final match will be set after this week, with Denial and Lublin Shore hoping to advance today. And tomorrow, H2K Gaming, formerly Cloud9 Eclipse, and SK Gaming Prime will hit the Rift for the last spot in the Final 4.
See if they can make it. And now, there are some wins in the Challenger Series, so we have teams with more than 1 point finally. To catch you up, those who made it to the quarterfinals were awarded a single point, and the squads who have won their quarterfinal match have actually won a few more.
Yeah, if the points are gifts, then Gamers2 and NIP are having a birthday party with 4 points, and more to come if they win their semifinal match. Everyone else is tied with 1, but only Unicorns of Love and Chantal Mactavao have their scores locked.
Yeah, every other team has an asterisk, meaning they still have games to play and potential points to rack up. And of course, all these scores carry over to Summer Series 2, even if teams don't place in the top 3 in Season 1. And of course, speaking of top 3, Zyrene, what would you consider the top 3 websites on the internet?
Google, use it all the time.
Okay, good one. Next.
Wikipedia, because when I'm doing research, people say don't actually cite Wikipedia, so I just click the sources and I use it in research papers.
Well, speaking of sources to use, you know it's a really good one. LOLesports.com.
LOLesports.com, exactly.
It's a good one. That's our number 3 of this one, you know. Once you go there, click the Leagues and Tournaments tab. You're going to find scores, schedules, everything else you need to know to follow the Challenger Series and the LCS all season long.
Yeah, it's almost too informative to be illegal, but it is.
It is. Much like murdering people in League of Legends. Now tonight, the 2 teams are readying up as we speak. The revamped roster of Denial Esports about to take on the surging squad of Lublin Shore.
Yeah, in Denial's new lineup, they have Babunya, Uzi in the jungle, Perm in the mid lane, Kobe, and Super Ace.
Yes. Not the LCS caster Kobe, but
yeah. So
extra B in there.
I can say Kobe sucks, and you don't know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're just gonna be passive aggressive about him the entire time.
Or he's amazing.
We'll be exceptionally.
I'm a little passive aggressive. He beat me in fantasy, so.
Oh, actually, you know that's
pretty
fine.
hard.
We played some rank 5s. He camped my lane, and thankfully
I watched that. That was awesome.
Yeah, Kobe's helped me out with that one.
Anyway, hopefully Kobe can come up big here for his team Denial playing AD carry there. So Lublin Shore, though, on the other side, they have Mockler, who went 12-2-7 with a 9.5 KDA as Twitch in the AD carry last round against GG Call Nash. And Lublin Shore also has Jokies up top, who synergizes really well with Kikis. They used to be on a team together, but Kikis has been on every team. But Jokies went 3-0-12 with a 15 KDA, and he's the newest member of the team. He was picked up 3 days before they played their round of 10 or 20 match, I believe. 20 match.
And they made it work anyway. Now, the guy to watch, though, for us, though, is the mid lane match. We have that kind of on your graphic down here. Perm, not a mid laner by trade. Yeah. He is a support, but he's got to fill in for them right now because this is, of course, a team that inherited their seed because of being in the promotion tournament. So they've got to run at least 3 people who are on that roster. Means they've got a makeshift mid laner.
Yes, so you have to have 3/5 of whatever roster you ran, but at the same time, subs do count. So they have 2 supports on their roster. One of them's a sub. We're going to see him play today, Super Ace, and Perm is going to play mid lane. Hasn't been playing mid laners at all, but a lot of supports are now mid laners typically. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Lulu or a Zyra come out currently.
Yeah, or Karma, like we've seen her as well. So we're going to see what kind of fun machinations go into the champ select as well. But the thing I'm kind of really looking at for this one, I agree with you that the mid lane is going to be a very tough one for Denial, right? Lublin Shore's mid laner Take Fun went and replaced Sharu, replaced, who's actually now Selfie on a Super Hot Career, actually. If you kind of go back into the roster history of Lublin Shore, they had him on there for a while. So another LCS player to graduate out. But they've actually got a real mid laner who mains that role, and that is going to be a rough one for Denial. The one I like, though, for Lublin Shore, and we talked about it a little bit, at the beginning of this one, Mockler and Libic have really stepped up. Mockler had, I think, the second highest KDA for MYM back when they were in the LCS, had the second highest KDA throughout Challenger Spring Split. He's now doing very, very well in Summer Split as well. So this is a guy who's been very consistently strong. And Libic, to me, has actually stepped up and doing a lot better. And that bot lane is now really crazy.
Yeah, and that bottom lane synergy, they're going to see how they do against Kobe and Super Ace, who have to synergize now because they weren't playing previously. The 3 members that they're using are Babunya, Perm, and Super Ace from the roster. So Kobe and Uzi are the new ones coming in. And then they have some other people that they'll eventually swap in and out if they continue along in the tournament. But Kobe, Super Ace, what is their synergy like compared to the season synergy of Libic and Mockler currently? Because they've been getting better every time.